The Great Wall of China. It's withstood the test of time. And in the hamlet below, a style of medical care from a distant past has also endured.
好了，走。
Liu Chunxiang has provided basic health care in Muqianyu for 40 years. She knows all the locals, checks to see how they're doing, and calls them into her clinic just to make sure they're all right. Liu is a medical practitioner of a different era in China's history. In the days of Chairman Mao Zedong, the country had very little money and very few doctors. To address the lack of health care, Mao's government came up with a plan to build a network of medical workers on a shoestring. Villagers like Liu were trained to practice basic care. She learned her skills over 2 years.
I was very nervous when I gave people injections, but you have to practice, and I learned it gradually. Later I helped deliver about 70 babies. There were 3 of us in the village, 1 man and 2 women. We would take it in turns, so if it was your shift, then you would go out into the fields, take your first aid kit and tools, and work side by side with the farmers. That's why we were called barefoot doctors.
When China started reforming its economy, the Barefoot Doctor program was disbanded. But time warp half a century later, and despite the country's modern makeover, many of Liu's longtime patients are still coming to her for medical attention.
Your blood pressure is a little high, but not too bad. It would be inconvenient for them to travel to see a doctor. I'm close by.
Village officials allowed Liu to keep a small clinic here. Unlike at the public hospitals where you see the doctor for a few minutes tops, Liu's patients stayed for an hour while we were here. Getting advice for minor ailments, singing to stay mentally fit, and exercising.
Don't jump with both feet so solidly on the ground.
Even though she's not a trained physician, Liu acts like what in the West would be akin to a family doctor. Even taking house calls.
We doctors and patients in the countryside see each other face to face, so we have a close relationship. When a patient comes to see me, even though the drugs I prescribe have instructions, I still explain to them the details, how to take it, what you have to pay attention to. We need to develop the healthcare system from the bottom up.
Liu may be a throwback from the past, but her philosophy could be a playbook for the future. The government has set in motion plans to greatly increase resources in the medical system, with the idea to get care where the people are. It's upgrading hospitals in smaller cities, building community clinics, and training a cadre of general practitioners. It's also opening the door wider to private healthcare providers. With healthcare spending in China estimated to grow to $1 trillion by 2020, companies that provide everything from medical equipment, insurance, IT software systems, drugs, and patient care are eager to get in.
The private sector should play a supplemental role to the public system. So this is the central lab.
American Roberta Lipson runs this high-end hospital in Beijing.
And you tell it what tests you want.
She arrived in China in 1979, selling medical equipment, just as the economy was opening to the world. Nearly 2 decades later, she founded Beijing United, China's first foreign-invested private hospital.
This whole concept of private health care in the People's Republic of China, a communist country, was to some people abhorrent, to some people laughable. People couldn't figure out how could you actually make a return on doing such a thing. By 1997, we finally had the final approval. It took 180 different government chops to finally get our doors open. Almost every single nut, screw, and bolt in the building had to be imported, and that was a process. Now, of course, the government has decided that private health care is an integral part of their health care reform plan. The approval process has been somewhat simplified. But what's really satisfying to me is that the government now really recognizes well-regulated, well-run private hospitals can take some of the pressure off of the public system.
Let's go see the doctor.
Beep, beep.
Lipson's company, Chindex, has grown, producing a chain of clinics in the country. But her success is rare. Right now, only 12% of China's hospital beds are private.
Some government sectors oppose the privatization of healthcare. This is the biggest obstacle. We all know if there's a monopoly, there are always people who benefit from that monopoly. When we talk about privatization, we are talking about competition.
This training that you organized for the public hospitals was on cardiac rehabilitation?
For private hospitals, one of the biggest challenges is attracting doctors. In China, a doctor's medical license is tied to his or her hospital. Many feel leaving the public system with its job security and prestige could be risky. The government has eased rules to allow doctors like this one to take second jobs or even open private practices in Beijing. But generally, they cannot move freely.
So as of last year, it's actually legal for doctors to have 2 sites of legal practice. And it's been a little bit difficult to implement because their original employer doesn't always want to share the talent with other facilities. But the doctors actually love having the opportunity for having supplemental income, as well as an opportunity to see a different approach to patient care, a different approach to service.
Another complication, families who visit private hospitals can find it difficult to get reimbursed through government insurance. So for most Chinese, a lengthy consultation like this is out of reach. China's leaders acknowledge that there's resistance within the bureaucracy and hurdles for private investors.
In general, the policy framework has already been established when it comes to encouraging private healthcare. This has been developing fast. We need to ensure that these policies can take root. To put it simply, we need to relax 4 restrictions and simplify 1.
China's healthcare system is in need of urgent care. But as with other countries, the issues here are interconnected, making it difficult to find clear solutions, even after examining the nation's healthcare system from all sides.
You know, the issues are so knotty. To the government's credit, they've done so much over the last 20 years, or really more so over the last 5 or 6 years. But it's really such a complicated set of issues. The physician morale, the physician pay, the economics of pharmaceuticals, the vested interests. It's so complicated that you start solving one of the issues and it's like pulling a string out of a knotted ball, that this part, the string comes out, but some other part of the ball gets into a tighter knot.
But will China unwind the knot fast enough for all its people? Join us again next month for another in-depth look inside China. I'm Eunice Yoon.